Calling all Hoosiers.
Calling all Hoosiers. Sup, boys? All right, so I'm not gonna waste your guys' time. I'm gonna show you guys the main issue that I ran into and the solution that I had. So in order for this to properly work, you need a full vacuum on the diaphragm or the CCV system. So my solution to this was to drill and tap a fitting into the manifold itself, and past me will explain how I did that. So here's my M50 manifold. There's two indents right here. One is already drilled, one is not drilled. So what I did was I needed to find a fitting for this and a drill and tap set that would actually make the threads in the manifold. The drill and tap set I actually got from Amazon. It comes with a 7/16 drill bit and it comes with a 1/4 inch NPT tap. This is the fitting that I used. This is a 1/4 inch NPT end mated with a 1/2 inch barb. I'll have the link in the description along with the NPT drill and tap. So now that I drilled and tapped the hole, fits in perfectly. Obviously I'm not gonna run it like this. I'm gonna put on some Teflon tape and then maybe some RTV, I'm not quite sure. Depends on how tight I think the Teflon tape fits in the threads. But before I do any of that, I'm actually gonna blow out the manifold to make sure there's no more plastic shavings in there. So that is a solution that I came up with, just adding a vacuum fitting. It has to be on the manifold so it can obtain a full vacuum. Another thing I ran into was trying to find something that fit over here. So this is actually the OEM connection that comes with the M56 manifold. Unfortunately, this is like a $26 piece. Well, this piece and a tube and another one of these pieces. So I live in Indiana and I cannot find M56 cars at the junkyard because they were never sold in Indiana, only like California, Delaware, and like a few other states maybe. So if you don't live in any of those states where they sold the Sulev, SULEV E46 model, you're gonna have to buy a kit off of eBay. Maybe they have some on Amazon or Facebook Marketplace. Back to the connection. You can buy this connection off of either Bimmer World or FCP Euro. FCP Euro is where I got this connection. Essentially, you just cut off the stock tube that runs along here, peel it off here, and then now you just have this elbow. And that plugs right into here. Now you need some sort of special vacuum hose. This hose is 5/8, but a regular 5/8 heater hose will not work because the vacuum is too strong. This is a 1/2 inch, so I have a reduction down here. This is the hose. Here is the reduction. This is a 5/8 to a 1/2 inch reduction. I suggest that you get some hose clamps or something to clamp these on. I'm just a little bit too lazy and I have college and stuff, so I haven't done that yet. It might cause a vacuum leak. So far the car runs the same, so I don't know. I'm sure you could buy a 1/4 inch NPT with a 5/8 barb fitting, but I didn't really think about that at the time and I just bought this. So it's not that big of a deal, you just need a reduction. So that is the vacuum line solution that I have when needing to obtain a full vacuum. Talk about some other little details that I ran into. First off, I decided to go with this because my plastic cover started leaking in the back, started dripping in the headers, and was smoking like crazy. But I also had a catch can setup running from this to there, and that would also smoke because this engine has an insane amount of blow-by, unfortunately. So whenever I installed it, there was an awful smell coming out of the car that usually never comes out. And it's because these bolts are like too long and they bottom out so they don't get tight enough. So there's like a solid like little bit of gap all the way around the valve cover. So I went to Home Depot, bought some of these 3/8 washers, just put them behind the stock washers, and that basically made the bolt like shorter so it could go further down and therefore like tight more. So that made the whole valve cover tighter and no more vacuum leak and no more oil leaking. If you don't have a vacuum running to this will not vent to atmosphere pressure. It's just like it needs a vacuum in order to get the gases out. So if you don't have any vacuum on this and this oil cap is closed, it'll just build pressure inside of the valve cover. So it's just gonna leak out the seals. I was thinking about teeing off this 1/2 inch connection so I didn't have to drill into the manifold. and then just have the brake booster and the CCV system connect into like a Y. But I decided I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to risk any oil vapors going into the brake booster, because if it freezes, then the oil vapors will turn to like these sharp crystals and like puncture the diaphragm and the brake booster, and that's just not good. So I basically decided to drill right next to it and have like the same possibility of that happening. So, you know. So I wanted to show you guys the car running. It's got a nice idle to it, somewhat. It doesn't like the cold start, but I think that's just from the amount of modifications I've done to the car. I need to get a proper tune on it. So yeah, as you can see here, there's no smoke coming out. And that's actually a vacuum leak. Whenever I open this, a vacuum leak happens in. I'll let you hear it. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a slight change to the idle because there's such a full vacuum going on in here. If I open this up, then it causes more air to go in and stuff like that. So that is my M50 and M56 valve cover solution on the M54 engine. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, least you can do is like and subscribe, bro. See you boys later.